Welcome back, boys, to the Lonely Road. We're here to join you on your journey to heal and become a better human.
Cheers, ladies and
Welcome back,
gentlemen.
KJ, as always. Make sure to use code RMTS G Fuel for 20% off. And obviously, on this Irish day, this Irish week,
Yes.
I wanted to
Yes.
be a smartass, and I think it's funny. I've had a
Mhm.
really good day. If I feel really good, and I think a lot of that is to do with trying to change things and growing and trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. And we were sitting here just brainstorming topics on what we wanted to talk about because it wasn't like one of those weeks where it's like, this needs to be talked about now.
Right.
And
Right.
obviously, with KJ doing lots of changes recently and me, the whole entire fucking life changing day by day, it feels.
Yes, sir.
Um, it feels like everything kind of is going not even in a circle, but like such a linear line where it's like, okay, you can change things, you can affect things right now, but there's not much effect to the way your life is going. So I think talking about changing your life or feeling bored with life is kind of like a great fucking topic for right now because there's so many ways to just feel like you're in the fucking bouts of bullshit and you know feeling like nothing's changing.
Yeah.
And damn, that shit's fucking hard.
That's stagnant. The stagnant, uncomfortable feeling of just being stuck somewhere and it not moving forward. And of no, like, you're not in control of the situation. So you have to relinquish that control in your life. That's very prevalent, is that you can only do so much. You have to wait.
Yeah.
It's a lot of waiting, and that can be
And
very, very
realizing
frustrating.
realizing what that timeline is, regardless of if it's your timeline or somebody else's timeline or even an entire other entity's timeline, you have to realize whose timeline it is, what your stuff is that's on that timeline, and how you have to fucking accomplish it. Because some days it gets really, really fucky and really weird to kind of put the pieces together and understand.
Oh, for sure. You kind of got to sift through the puzzle pieces and find out which ones you can put together and which ones you have to wait for. Like, I mean, you put together the way I start a puzzle is I put together the outside first, and then I work my way in as I move the puzzle pieces to different parts depending on what colors there are. And so it's hard to sort out those pieces so that you can make sense of it all. And also, while you're making sense of it all, you have to be able to relinquish what, do what you can and do everything you can to move forward, but also have the humility and the wherewithal to know when to just let it be and wait.
And it's such a surreal kind of feeling exactly what that is.
Mm. Yeah,
Because
it's a
like
tough line to walk.
with my ADHD, if it's something that's in somebody else's control, I almost want to strangle it. And I struggle with YouTube and TikTok with that as well because it's like I know that the content is here, so I want to strangle it because it's like you guys need to see it. You guys need to see it all now. And the fact that it doesn't get seen now frustrates the piss out of me. Or like peaks and valleys of what that viewership is will almost make me fucking just strangle it. Because it's like, oh, just put it out there and it'll be seen as like that's so blinded.
Yeah, yeah, it's not that easy for sure.
It's it's weird because it's like I like doing that with everything. Like I was going through text messages and stuff for court, and it's like, okay, you're giving me too much. And I'm like, nope, I'd rather give all context and you use whatever you want to use than sit there and not give enough. It's like I have to give everything because if I forget one thing that I want to give, I will forget everything you want me to give. And it's just like, I'd rather give too much. I'd rather give too much.
Yeah, as long as what you're giving is solid, like evidence and fact based stuff. Because you can
Exactly.
absolutely give, because I feel like that's happening on the other end of the spectrum, is that it's getting too emotional, and it's seeping out. Where she's trying not to make it seep out, but it's seeping out because the mask tends to melt off after
And
under pressure.
it's so surreal to kind of look at it in that way and be like, okay, so how do I make myself so that way I don't strangle something? And it's almost like I have to make myself so busy, or at least make myself feel busy, even if that's just sitting here playing fucking video games like a fucking idiot. I have to make myself feel like I'm busy enough to where, okay, I can do this for an hour, I could do that for an hour, and then just segment everything I have to fucking do. Even if
Mhm.
it's relaxing and kind of segmenting myself that way, that it's like I have to do that for fucking everything because it just becomes so regimented that it makes it so much easier to kind of handle and put together. And it's really interesting to kind of look at that.
Yeah, it is. I've never really thought of it that way. Like, I guess when I'm having a really hard time with life and I'm going through it, on those days, I have to take it little by little. So I guess I can see, the segmenting up. And that's when I do segment things up, is when I'm really having a hard time. But usually my days just basically flow. You know, I have, I
Because
get up, I,
you get used to that normal, this is what I
yeah,
do, this is what I do, this is what I do.
yeah,
Because like if you change an hour, 2 hours out of your day and say, okay, that's a completely different day. Yeah, it's a completely different day. Those
hmm,
2 hours are a big chunk of your day when you don't change all of it ever. So I'm sure that that definitely impacts it if you think about it.
yep, yeah, absolutely does. Another piece of the big puzzle.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I'm sure that a lot of you guys want to change something about yourself or you want to fix something about yourself, and that's why you're here. Like, we don't expect you to listen for fucking 5 years and never fucking leave us. We want you to grow and keep going and suggest us to the people in your life that, are hurting or need help at that time or need a voice. And you're like, well, whatever I'm saying came from these people. So
For sure.
listen to them and maybe that they could help you. We don't want you to be here for forever. So change and fix the things that you got to fix and move forward. And it's weird when you're in a time to change. It's weird when you're bored with life and you just want to kind of articulate what you want to do and shift the way that that light is hitting you or your life in that aspect. And it's really kind of interesting just to shift it in that way and go from like, oh, well, I don't, I stopped showering every day. And it's like, no, Zach, you have to hold yourself accountable, get up, stop allowing yourself to be depressed, change it, fix it, and put it back together.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
We're
I need to get up and do something. Oh, I need to get up and do this or do that. And it's shifting your life in that way can impact and change everything if you just see what the fuck you need to do.
Yeah, for sure. People are not alone. Like, you may think that you're the only one that's going through something of like this, or something so dark, or you not remembering to brush your teeth, or, shower like you should. When you get into depression, you definitely are not taking care of yourself like you should. Yourself, self-care habits go down the drain, sometimes. And it's interesting because I feel like, with our stories and the way we bounce ideas off each other, and I think it's an inspiration for others to grow and want to make a change if they don't like what they see, and know they're not alone, and other regular people, are wanting to
And
change as well.
it's hard to hold yourself accountable for your bullshit almost.
Yeah,
You look at the
absolutely.
mirror and you're like, "Oh, well, I don't like the person I become. I
Mhm.
don't like the husband I am. I don't like the dad I am. I don't like the wife that I am, or I'm not the wife I want to be, or the husband I want to be." It's like, okay, so break that down to a level of, okay, so what is a wife or a husband or a significant other or a dad or a mom that you want to be? What puts those puzzle pieces together? Have a conversation with those people around you. Say, okay, well, this is how I'm feeling. How do you feel in this situation? How do I put these pieces back together in a way that is acceptable to you? What makes me better? How am I better in this situation or that situation? And figure it out.
Yeah, I feel like at the base of it all, though, before you get to that step, you have to do the inventory.
Absolutely.
You have to absolutely find out what you're about. And if you don't know who you are in certain situations or on certain, topics or things that you go through in life, things that affect your life, take inventory on those things, because you're going to find that as you get older, they may not align with other beliefs that you have. They may be contradictory, and you don't want to be a flimsy person. You want to be able to be a strong backbone, and stand tall for what you believe in,
Yeah,
before you
absolutely.
can radiate that outwards and, ask others. I feel like it needs to innately start with yourself.
Yeah, and I remember saying this on RMTS at some point. I don't remember if it was last week, maybe it was the week before. But I said it starts with something that Jordan Peterson said is you have to be ballsy enough and accept the world and yourself enough that you can sit on your bed, you can look at the fucking mirror and say, "What is wrong with me?
Mm.
What the fuck is wrong with me?" And you might not fucking like the answer.
Oh
So
yeah,
don't fucking do it until you're ready to fucking change it
you're probably
because this
not going to like the answer. Let's just say that first out front, because I didn't like the answer. I was like, no. And then something happens and you're like, oh, yeah, yeah. And then you end up tracing that back to the last time, and then the last time, and then you trace it back to the root, and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah, whether that's childhood or relationships, you look back at yourself and you're like, okay, so what fucking caused this?
Hmm.
What disconnect made me shift so far from what my center was before and what my morality is or whatever that is? How the fuck do I fix this in a way that is acceptable?
Right. Yeah,
And that becomes so distorted and so warped if you don't look at it yourself.
it does. But it needs to be acceptable for you,
Yeah.
first and foremost. Um, and you have to be real with yourself, about what your reality really is, like what you really believe, what you really think, and be ready to stand on that and back it up. And it's a hard thing to do sometimes, especially when it's against the grain, when
Yeah.
it's against what people find socially acceptable.
And what that socially acceptable thing is changes depending on who's leading,
Yeah.
so don't think that, this changing your life or fixing yourself or fixing your life or whatever the fuck you want to call it is just based off of the people who are in power, the people that are around us or the people that are around you. You have to look at this as a intrinsic story within you.
Hmm.
How do you fix yourself back to the way that you are supposed to be?
Yep.
How do you make the best version of you out of the person that you are now?
And then let it radiate out to your family and loved ones.
Is it fixing the fact that you haven't put down a bottle in, 6, 7 years? Or is it, you know, realizing that you got to shower every day or that you have to get up and get out of your bedroom because you haven't seen anybody in 6 months? There's so many different things that you could change today
For
and it would
sure.
affect you for years.
Yeah.
It's just you have to be tired of your bullshit enough to accept that you're doing wrong.
Yeah, accountability. You have to be able to, could be a behavior that a loved one finds offensive and you don't think it's offensive. But taking that into consideration, being able to look inwards and saying, even though I may not find that offensive, the person that I love or somebody that I'm close with, a relationship that I'm close with, finds that thing offensive. Do I want to make them feel that way? Do I want to have them feel that way? And then if you want that relationship to continue, change that behavior moving forward. I'm not saying everything about you has to change, but that's the nature of compromise. When
Yeah,
you're
and I actually don't even agree with that thought process. Is I don't think you compromise with yourself. You
no,
do, like with who you should be and who you are and the things that you want to be. You don't compromise with those.
no, I'm not saying compromise with who you are.
I just that's how I took it. I was like, I don't even think you do that because like if you compromise with who you are, you might look in the mirror back in 4 or 5
Mm.
years and you're like, I don't fucking like who I am.
No,
I
that's
was beaten
exactly
down to be this person, and you don't want to be it anymore.
no, that's not what I meant at all. It was more. I don't That's why I feel like you have to go inside yourself first and find out what you want, stand on that, cement that, and then move outwards. I
Oh,
was
absolutely.
just saying that in
I'm
interpersonal
unmedicated. Yeah, I'm unmedicated today, so, like,
You're
ADHD
cool.
mind is just
No, no,
running.
no, that's why I'm explaining it. You know,
Yeah.
it's just outwardly, then you can go outwardly and find out if, if there's a problem in a relationship and there's a behavior, that you need to change, you can take accountability for that and change behaviors. But after you have dealt with the internal cementing of who you are and what you're standing on.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, and it goes with what we were talking about before this, is, like, the first thing you do is you fix the inner ground that you are.
Mhm.
You don't Okay, so if you go to the gym, that obviously affects your mental health. It makes you better. It does this, it does that. But you're not working on you physically first. You're working on your mental health of being able to hold yourself accountable and do it. Because if you go for a week and then you fall off the fucking bandwagon, you're just going to feel like shit again. So you have to hold yourself accountable enough to understand that you have to fucking do it.
Hmm.
It's not, step one. Step one is holding yourself accountable and realizing what the fuck you want to change.
Yeah, no, you
And
realizing that you need change. A lot of people are just, I don't need therapy or I don't need to change. Well, you should probably take a deeper look in because there's probably not many humans on Earth that could not use a little introspection, and a little bit of self betterment in some part of their lives.
And if you are one of those people that say, "Oh, I don't want therapy. I don't agree with it. I don't," you get therapy from your fucking friends. The thing
Yeah,
is you don't want two fucking things. You don't want somebody who's going to sit there and say that you're right all the time. You want somebody that's going to disagree with you,
no,
is
you don't.
going to push your fucking buttons, is
Mhm.
going to sit here and say when you're doing right and when you're doing wrong. And you
For,
don't want somebody that's going to sugarcoat something.
for sure. You don't want to be in
If
an
you
echo chamber. Mm-mm.
If you can't do either of those things, go get yourself on one of those mental health lists, buddy, because you fucking need it.
Yep, and if, you don't trust it or whatever, start with reading books about the things that may be an issue. If anger is an issue, or if drinking's an issue, or if, yelling is an issue, or if outbursts are an issue, or whatever the issue may be, um, you can find literature on it. It's and if you don't read books on download, podcasts all over the place that will help you do whatever. Um, it's it's wanting first. You first and foremost, you have to want any kind of change.
But you got to
Um,
realize it and then you
yeah,
got to want it and you
yep,
got to then figure out a fucking plan on how to do it.
yeah,
And
because it's
it's
not going to
like,
be easy.
and you can't be disheartened by the fact that there's fucking shit wrong with you. There's fucking shit wrong with everybody.
You're not
And if you,
alone.
and if you can't look at yourself and say, hey, there's shit wrong with me, and you can't listen to other people say that there's shit wrong with you, then realize there is a term for that.
Yeah,
And it's narcissism.
yeah. I mean, if somebody tells you something and you hear it, if someone, a loved one in your life, tells you something more than one time, and it's a repetitive thing and it keeps happening, that may be something that you might want to look into.
Yeah.
Um, Not saying it's always the case. I'm just saying it might be something that you might want to turn around and look inwards about. And if you can't do that, you very well might be the problem.
Yeah. And that is such a weird thing to look at and be like, okay, I wasn't the problem here. I wasn't the problem there. I was the
Mhm.
problem here.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
the problem in this situation and that situation. And these are the reasons why. You might not even be the cause of the problem that you were the problem in. It could have been a retaliation. It could have been a reaction. It could have been anything. But the thing is you have to realize why you reacted and why you're the problem in those situations
You have to own
and
your
figure out
action.
if figure out if you accept it, and if you don't accept it, you own your fucking shit.
Mhm.
I did that. I didn't like how I reacted, and fucking change it. If you can't
Own it
change the impulse,
and change it.
fucking work on fixing it.
Mhm.
And then it goes to working on the psychology of it, the brain chemistry, the physical shit. And I think that's at the point where I am. And it's a very, very interesting place. So I'm not going to say exactly what some of the things are that I'm going to do because who the fuck knows if it's even logical. But personally, I'm going to change a few things about myself and see exactly what I can do. I'm going to include a few things in some of the things that I do every day and see if I can physically see a change. Currently, I've stopped taking my anxiety medication. I've stopped eating all breads and refined grains because I don't know exactly what's going on with my gut or what the fuck is going on because I'm having problems with gastrointestinal shit and possible celiac disease or a wheat allergy or something. And I just needed to break it down to what I'm used to see if I can genuinely figure out exactly what's going on. But I think I'm going to start working on trying to figure out exactly how to try and put my brain back together because I feel so scrambled. And like I was watching this video last night about a famous person's like physical trauma and a whole bunch of other things that were going on with him, and he was talking about how they they teach you to heal from concussions and stuff like that. Or like if you take this, sometimes even things like chocolate can help you like regain the neurochemistry and the physical problems with your brain. I was like, okay. So I wonder if those things affect ADHD and PTSD and the problems that, mental illness creates in your brain. Because obviously your brain isn't all a physical problem. Like, yeah, you fall, you're going to disconnect some of those neurons and stuff like that. But there's still damage there that's not realized. It could be done by your emotions. It could have been done by like all of the different little things that you do, whether it affects your brain chemistry, it affects your emotional state, it affects your reaction time, your impulse, whatever that is. There's a million things that your brains control. So affecting the way that it able to regrow can genuinely impact how you're able to feel as a human tomorrow.
Makes
So
sense.
I'm gonna go down this road and try and figure out exactly what kind of science experiment I'm gonna do. But I'm gonna figure this shit out. And I'm gonna turn myself into a fucking test tube and we're gonna see if I can put myself back together in a better place. Because there are some days where I feel like I am so fucking there and I have all of the thought processing power of somebody that, has all of those degrees on their wall. And then there are some days where I feel like I'm a knuckle dragger and I absolutely can't put a fucking thought together. So, I'm right here along with you guys. Like I wanna change myself and see if I'm able to exactly how to do this. So at some point, if I actually do see a positive impact on this, I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you guys exactly what I did. But and I'm interested. I'm interested because like when I was consuming a whole bunch of energy drinks and stuff like that every day, I was doing rather good mentally, but mental health wise, I was very bad.
All right.
I've healed my mental health now. I've cut out almost all sugar in my entire diet again. And now I'm going to see exactly what the top level of human I can be is. Can I heal my fucking PTSD physically? Like I've healed as much of the emotional trauma and situations that I can. But is there like neurochemistry shit in my brain that obviously nobody can see without an MRI or something like that or a CT scan that you can't see on the outside? Is there things like memory loss or things like that that I can regain and help and change that I can affect right now? And if I can affect that right now and I can affect that in a month or month and a half, imagine what I am then. I don't know. I think it's an interesting, thought experiment.
Yeah, for sure. If you're feeling, mixed up and scrambled, I think that definitely the first thing to do is recognize that, and now you need to figure out the change that you need to make. And I think that you're, you know, figuring out your path. I think that's great. You need to do something if you're feeling scrambled. That's for sure
Well,
because that's not a comfortable feeling at all.
well, it's, 15 years worth of being scrambled. It's 15 years of not realizing and feeling what real life is.
Right.
So it's like, okay, so now all of my reactions, impulses, every genuine reaction I'm supposed to have to every single outcome in every single situation is shaken a little bit.
Yeah,
I have
because
20, 25 years of being told that I'm arrogant and egotistical and too intelligent and that I probably should calm down. So now it's like, okay, let's put this all back together in a better fucking package because what am I if I better these things? What am I if I don't have the traumatic responses of CPTSD or PTSD? How many people could we help if I am right and I'm on the right path? And this thought-based science actually is like physical science that you could do and replicate in multiple people. How many people could we help then? But if I wouldn't do it to myself, then there's zero reason for any of you guys to be like, oh well, Zach makes sense. Zach's somewhat smart. He's a dipshit online. No,
oh, for sure.
I'm gonna look at myself and be internal about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a correlation, I feel, with what you put into your body and what the output is. Input is directly related to output in that sense, I feel. So if there's something that you can do to enhance or repair something that's going on, then that's gold. You know, if you can find the person with the gold, because if it exists, it's there.
Well, he said this amazing thing that he was told by physical doctors and mental health specialists that when you have
Who you're talking
concussions,
about? Your
uh,
doctor?
his I talked to my doctor about it too, but his name's Travis Pastrana. He's a X Games rider, and he's broken like every single bone in his body. And he's like, I broke every single one of these bones in my body. I did it this way. I affected this. I did that. And the worst things I dealt with were concussions. It wasn't me breaking my foot. It wasn't almost getting my leg amputated. It was the brain chemistry just not fucking being right. Not feeling okay enough to fix this or fix that and having emotional reactions to everything. And it's like, okay, so I'm finally feeling like I'm coming out of having emotional reactions to everything. Like that's what PTSD is every single situation. You feel like you have to emotionally react and not just like bring it back and look at it logically and react in the way that you're supposed to. And I'm finally starting to do that with every situation instead of just the ones where I could force myself to. So like I'm altering this in real time and healing it in real time. So now I'm like, okay, so the physical situations of these situations may not be the same as a concussion. It may not be the same as like a physical trauma, but
Mhm,
obviously the like brain only injures in so many different ways. So if I do these certain things, will it impact me in a positive light or in a positive way, and kind of put those things back together in a more positive way to where it isn't an emotional reaction always, to where I can heal those reactions and like maybe the actual physicality of my brain and that shit.
mhm.
And also, there's positive outlooks on things like Alzheimer's and dementia and diabetes too. I believe he said, if you look at these things in that way. So all of those things are positive as well.
Oh, for sure, because it's gonna directly affect your, you know, your physical health as well if you're, you know, dictating what, goes in your body.
Well,
For
it's also
sure.
much easier to hold yourself accountable when you're realizing what you're doing
Right.
or realizing what you're taking or realize like
How
the
certain
more
things
you become
affect you.
regimented and stuff like that and you're hyper aware, it's much easier to kind of just realize in real time exactly what's going on.
Right, right. Because I find that I recently have done that with caffeine. I've cut down, how I used to drink coffee. I've cut down my
Yeah.
coffee to just a couple cups a day.
Yeah.
Um, Cups, like regular size cups. Regular size cups, like coffee cups, mugs. So it's just it's interesting to me because I'm feeling much less on edge. I'm much
Yeah.
less shaky in my chest, much more calm, and it's
And like
nice.
there's weird pseudoscience behind that too, is like where that caffeine comes from, whether it's coffee, whether it's soda, whether it's energy drinks or things like G Fuel, all of those individually will make you feel different.
Hmm?
You can consume a caffeine pill and you will feel completely different than drinking 4 cups of coffee back to back to back.
For sure, caffeine pills make me feel completely different. It's like a full body caffeine.
And you feel buzzy and you're like, "Oh god, everything's working at top efficiency right now." It's like,
Or
"Fuck,
is
man.
it? You're like, "What the
I don't
fuck
know
is
if all
this?"
the Band-Aids and duct tape's gonna hold this, but I'm going right now."
Here I am, here we go.
But and that's the interesting thing is like if you feel like you can't put your thoughts together until you have a cup of coffee, replace that with a sugar-free soda and see if you have the same feeling. Do you feel better in the morning without that sugar, without that problem in the morning? Do you consume a whole bowl of cereal in the morning or a donut with your coffee? Change all of it and see each little thing on how it impacts you and how it affects you in whatever way that you're looking at life, because the things that you could change in your life is everything, including the socks and underwear you're wearing right now. That's how many things in your life you can change. You can change every single fucking thing. Guess what? They could have a positive or negative impact. You could be happy or just freeballing it every single day of your life, and nobody will fucking know.
No. Nope. There are countless things that you can change about yourself. You just need to recognize uh, if it needs changing,
Yeah.
because you don't want to, again, lose yourself. You don't want to change who you are as a result of this, but you might need to change a lot of the things about who you are to be more palatable to you and the world. You can't go popping off at everything all the time. You have to have a certain amount of self-control as an example. So it's interesting. Whoa.
You're still here.
All right.
Your screen just went black. That's all. You're good.
uh yeah, so it's it's interesting. The different things that can be changed. But people they put themselves, I feel they put themselves in a box.
Mhm.
And they don't like to be in boxes, but they keep themselves in that box anyway. Not thinking they are. They think they're free. They think they're,
It almost
loose.
ADHD thought. And you tell me if this explains it. We hate stereotypes. Everybody fucking hates stereotypes. They're like, I don't fucking like stereotypes. None of them fit me. I don't like it when people put me in boxes. But you stereotype yourself every single part of your life.
Mhm.
When you walk through the clothes store, you say, hey, that's not a me thing. You walk through the grocery store. I'm not a water drinker. Why the fuck would I drink water? Water's fucking useless. I would rather drink soda. You go to the fucking you go to the fucking movies and you're like, why would I watch Curious George when slasher movie 95 is there? And I love being on the edge of my seat. Oh, the monster trucks are coming into town? That sounds like some real redneck shit. Everybody stereotypes themselves. Everybody puts themselves in a box because they don't want to realize that whatever the other side does, whatever this person does or that person does, might be enjoyable to themselves too, but they're not looking at themselves and being like, hey, who the fuck knows? Let's do it.
I think people pigeonhole themselves too much in life by by labeling everything around them, not experiencing the things, all of the things.
Do you feel like you did that with being lesbian when you moved out to Utah? And like there was that escalation that you were talking about during the you know, changing yourself episode that we were talking about, where like you're looking inward and realizing that you're a hell of a lot more Republican than what you've realized. But that escalation that you had with being lesbian was almost like you became the super gay of the stereotype. So like it like multiplied you almost, or multiplied
Yeah,
what your image of what a lesbian in Utah was supposed to be.
I yeah, I really did fall into ideological normalities, if you will, of
Yeah.
the LGBT community. So, and they did not align with my self, my morals, my values. You know, being American and loving my country. Wasn't okay with that group of people. It makes me ABC name, and I'm not a name caller. So that kind of stuff came to a head and kind of pushed me away and made me look more. And then I have people in my family who were Republican, and I'm hearing that Republicans are this and that and the other thing. And I say, well, my sister's not that. So, yes, I feel like I did pigeonhole myself, um,
It's just
by
easier when you, like, when you look at
surround.
yourself and show yourself, "Hey, this is how I looked at myself," and I was
Yeah.
like, "Wait, that might be a good way to show exactly what we're talking about," is like, you did it to yourself.
Yeah. No,
Everybody does it to themselves.
absolutely. I surrounded myself with a bunch of people that were like me in one way, which I thought was the most important way at the time because I felt like, I guess, my younger self needed that acceptance. Coming from a smaller town in a smaller area, I just felt like that was the type of acceptance that I was looking for. But in reality, it absolutely was not, and it wasn't aligned with my inner values. Um, at all. It's almost a complete turnaround, of opposite day, from who I, you know, originally was before all the sexuality stuff happened with me. And then that happened, and it kind of opened up this whole new ideology, of, uh, you know, empathy. It all surrounds with empathy and kindness and that's all fine and good. But that's not the be all end all say all of life. You cannot forego the safety and values of other people, to move forward an agenda, for
Exactly.
a smaller group of people. So it was, the things that I started to put together, that just were not aligned with myself. So absolutely. Did I pigeonhole myself? Yeah, for a good 15 years, I pigeonholed myself, and that was quite the hole to climb out of.
And you even see it with people like, people that grow up in Section 8 housing, people that grow up in trailer parks and stuff like that, where
Yeah.
like, oh, you can't take the kid out of the trailer park, you can barely get out, you can barely change things.
Mm,
It's like, if you keep yourself in the same mindset or the same thought process and you don't change anything about your life and you go to the gas station every single day and you get the 40 and you're like, oh, dude, nothing's better than this, and you still sit on the stoop every day,
yeah.
nothing's ever going to change them. You're still gonna be in that same exact fucking place when your friend that's making $1,000,000 comes home next week, because guess what? He knows you're still going to be sitting there. You never pulled yourself out. The only person that can pull you out, the only person that can change the things that you need to do is you, and that's
Absolutely.
exactly where it starts.
Yeah. It's got to. It's got to. It may start with somebody recognizing something about you that you can't, somebody that loves you, and they may tell you in a sideways way because they really don't know how to say it to you. But it's best if you listen before the third, fourth, fifth time, and it becomes more than your loved ones can handle. Um, or it may be something small, like your hairstyle, or the clothes that you wear, or how you wear your facial hair. It's just it could be anywhere on that spectrum of life and things about you that you can change if you don't like them. They don't
Yeah.
align.
The first thing to
Align with your
do,
soul. That's what you need to align with. You need to align with your soul, with your values, what innately matters to you.
if family matters, go down the fucking, like, I don't know, I see life in a really, really weird fucking way. You know when you play the game The Sims, you're like, "This is the tree and the path that I wanna go down. Oh, I wanna have a family. Oh, I wanna be a billionaire," whatever the fuck that is. You just go down that one singular path. I try and accomplish as many of the fucking paths as I wanna fucking accomplish in life. So it's like, when I go back and I look at everything, I'm like, "Okay, well, that I gotta change, that I gotta change. Oh, I put that fucking stat in the wrong fucking place. Let me put this in the right place now." And it's just like, I'm slowly realizing the game of life is actually a fucking game. We're just too dumb to realize that.
Oh yeah. No, it's just like one big simulation. You just got to learn how to play it.
You got to realize that it's there. You got to realize that life is every single thing that you want and more is available, stupid. Go
Yeah,
do
the
it.
cliche of life is what you make it. Well, it is stupid. It is what you make it. You have to put in the effort. If you put in the maximum amount of effort, you will accomplish things, you know? It's interesting. You have to look inwards though and take that inventory. And that's where people have I know that's where that's what set me back. Was not being able to turn around and even after I figured out that I had pigeonholed myself in where I did not fit, it was really hard to look at myself inwardly for all those things that did not align, and pluck them off the checklist one by one, and I'm still doing it, you know?
Well, the crazy thing is if it's traumatizing, which I'm not saying that was or wasn't, but like the statistic is that anytime that you do something that is traumatizing, it takes just as much time, if not more, to heal it.
Yeah.
So if you're in trauma for 15 years, you're in trauma for 25 years, you have 25 years worth of time to go ahead and fucking fix this because it's not gonna just be done tomorrow.
And you don't realize it, and you may be running from it. If you don't deal with it, that's running from it. You don't have to
Yeah.
physically be running, but if you're not dealing with it and trying to fix what those scrambles are and try to align them back up, then that's running from it, and that's just gonna catch up with you, and the momentum of that when it hits is
It's
breathtaking.
surreal.
Mhm.
Surreal. It throws you for a loop because everything that you knew yesterday, the day before, and everything else is all supposed to come together and be this big harmonious fucking thing. But then you realize that, it's just nothing is where you left it.
Yeah. Take those
Nothing is at
issues,
its place.
deal with them, flip them upside down, and create a better you. The best version of you that you can possibly create.
Exactly. Listen, all you motherfuckers, every single fucking person that's listening to this, every single one of you is playing the game of fucking life. Some people are playing Monopoly, some people are playing life, some people are playing,
Shoots and ladders.
family family simulator, and some people are playing change my diaper today. If you don't like the fucking game you're playing, pick up the fucking table and throw it and stop using the mirror that's next to it because there's way too many people of those. We'll see you fucking next time. Keep healing, keep walking.
Cheers.
Maybe we'll see somebody eventually.